Hello and welcome to Sports Week. My name is Dan Tracy. I'm your host and I'm joined by my attacking partner, Tolu Shatadi. Tolu, a pleasure as always. How are you doing, my friend?
Very, very good. Ready to attack with you again.
Fantastic. Right, this time we go to the Stadium of Lights. It's Sunderland versus Newcastle in the Tyne-Wear derby. I live in Newcastle. It's fair to say this week has been consumed by derby fever. It's building nicely. We're not even at Sunday yet, but the pressure is there. Sunderland have got the home advantage this time around. They've been certainly the surprise act of the Premier League season so far. Can they have another surprise up their sleeve at the weekend?
Oh, this is one of the derbies that I really like the most, to be honest. I think I've missed it so much. I think I speak for everyone in the Premier League when they say this. The last time both teams met in the Premier League, I think 2016. They did meet in the Cup, I think it was 2 seasons ago. And I think when Sunderland first made it back into the Premier League, I'm sure that every Sunderland fan had this fixture almost pasted on their calendars. And I think every neutral felt Newcastle United were probably better than Sunderland. That's because we didn't have any idea Sunderland were going to turn up the way they have this year. And when you look at recent history as far as the matches in the Premier League have gone, you will not believe it. They are unbeaten in their last 9 matches against Newcastle Sunderland in the Premier League. So that tells you, even when they went this good and went pulling out trees that they are at the moment, they still always manage to get the derby fever to push them in games like this. And the fact that the game is taking place at the Stadium of Light, Newcastle have to be really, really careful in this one. I like this Sunderland team. I have a bit of a fear for them when the AFCON comes through. Simon Adingra hasn't been called up, so maybe he stays, but he doesn't play anyway for this team. Noah Siddiqui in midfield, he's off to the AFCON with DRC. That's going to be a huge loss. They've got Arthur Masuaku, who's also headed to the AFCON. So it's going to be a very, very difficult time. But for these players who head into the AFCON, this is the last game before the AFCON. So that just tells you how they'll be up for it. Like we said in previous fixtures, Sunderland don't play in Europe. They've got 1 week of rest. Newcastle don't play in the Champions League. And so they'll be a little leggy because they're also trying to get into the top 8 in the Champions League to avoid playing the playoffs. Sunderland are up for this one. I'm a huge fan of Regis Labris, the Sunderland manager, and how he sets his teams. I've seen them against some of the bigger teams. Apart from maybe City, I don't think anyone has played them and hasn't had to fight for every single thing they've got in the game. Arsenal have been said to be probably the best defensive team in the Premier League. Sunderland scored twice against them and turned it into almost like a fighting contest, and Arsenal almost lost it. So it's going to be very, very interesting. They always say when it's a derby, form goes out the window. But Sunderland are the form team, to be honest. And I think Newcastle will know that this is probably, in recent history, one of the closest derbies to call.
Well, you mentioned the form guide. Sunderland start the weekend ahead of Newcastle, but Newcastle have picked up 10 points for the last 12 on offer. So they have been rather shaky away from St James's Park this season, but they're starting to slowly find their feet on their travels. Is that home advantage going to be key for Sunderland on Sunday?
I think it's going to be very, very key for them. I've watched them play at home and they never look beaten at home. I think it was Brighton who took a 2-0 lead against them at home, and I didn't think they had it in them. They came back and won the game. And if you watch that fixture, you almost felt it was coming with the way that they were playing. Even when they were 2-0 down, they didn't seem to be flustered at all, especially at home. I think for Newcastle, it's going to be interesting to see how Eddie Howe sets up, because it's a derby. Newcastle fans obviously believe that they're the better team on paper. And so if he maybe tries to be a little conservative, it might not go down well with Newcastle fans because they don't expect to go sit behind when they play Sunderland, who only just got promoted. The Sunderland fans on their part feel like they're in a good moment and they can absolutely get the points against Newcastle. I think Eddie Howe, for the good work he's done as Newcastle United manager, he hasn't played a Premier League fixture against Sunderland as Newcastle boss in the Premier League. He's played them in the Cup, but not in the Premier League. And I think he'll find out very, very quickly just how important this fixture is. It's going to be bouncing. I think it's one of those. It's almost close to watching River Plate and Boca Juniors in Argentina. there's gonna be a lot of bad blood. They're not gonna be friendly, I can assure you. And I think that if it turns into a battle, you look at that midfield with Sadiki and Granit Xhaka, and then you look on the other side, Bruno Guimaraes and Joel Linton, they look like four guys who will be absolutely ready for a brawl. They look like those are the kind of games that those four guys are actually made for. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I feel they'll cancel each other out, but it will be feisty, I can assure you.
I'm even more excited about it now, Tolu. So with that in mind, what's your betting angle for the weekend?
It's really difficult. My good friend Gary, he's a Sunderland fan, and I know he'll watch this. I just feel like Sunderland are in a very good place at the moment. I feel like you have to give credit to Regis Lebris. He seems to have the setup for all of the big teams in the Premier League, and I think he'll do the same against Newcastle. I think that Eddie Howe will look at this fixture and feel like if we can't win it, we definitely cannot afford to lose it. And I think at the end of the day, none of these sides, especially with the momentum they've built, Sunderland over the course of the season and Newcastle over the last few matches in the Premier League, I don't think any of them will want to lose it. It's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be really tight. There's not going to be a lot of goals, even though both teams have been letting in goals lately. I'll go for a draw, which I think will be the popular punt on this fixture this week. And I think I'll go a draw, and I'll go a correct score of 1 each.
I think that's a sound bet, Tolu. I like the sound of that one. So enjoy that game. Also enjoy the whole Premier League weekend. It's going to be a big one, and we'll catch up next week.
Thank you very much, Dan.